What is your horror story from DNA tests like 23andMe?
Story number 1.
My parents and I all did DNA tests and I managed their profiles. Theirs were done before mine was available. They each got a panicked message from a woman on the other side of the world who had matched as their daughter. She was distraught, thinking her parents had lied to her for her entire life. When I logged into my account, it showed that I had no DNA matches with my parents, which I knew to be wrong. Plus, the fact my mum was a young child when this woman was born made it clear the company had swapped our results. Customer service just said, "Oh well," and offered a new test. My family found it funny, but that poor woman who had spent several days freaking out thinking her life was a lie before I got her messages and responded.
Story number 2.
My mom's generation has been really big into tracing our family tree. Turns out Grandpa had 2 families that we know of that lived down the street from each other. If that wasn't enough to discourage my family from uncovering skeletons, a few years later, one of my cousins took a 23andMe test to find out that our maternal grandfather is also her dad. Edit: for those asking, the cousin in question is the daughter of my mother's sister. So we're thinking some downright unholy things went on. Unclear, as my grandfather and aunt are both dead now.
Story number 3.
Grew up pretty normal for the most part. Divorced parents, but happy life. Wanted to know how my ancestry, since I don't know past my paternal great-grandmother's maiden name. Got the results this past Christmas Eve. Found a half-sister along with 2 other half-siblings, that is too old to be my dad's, he'd have been a literal child, and put 2 and 2 together, and it turns out my dad is not my father. Can't ask my mom, she's dead. My bio-father is dead, and no one knows anything, and the people I have told, no one on my dad's side too scared to break that news, are shocked. I know nothing about this man but his name and his mom's name, who is also gone, I believe. I just find out this big old bombshell so suddenly and then hit a dead end just as quickly. It was an interesting and juicy Christmas for sure. I'm 55% Swiss though, which is random as hell.
Story number 4.
About 3 years ago, I took a 23andMe test because I always had suspected, or maybe hoped, that my sister's dad was also my dad. He was in my life from the beginning because my bio dad was a piece of work. Well, he isn't my father, and neither is the man who I grew up believing was my dad. My sister-in-law did some digging and found my real biological father. He's the one who reached out, did a DNA test, wanted to meet me and my children and introduce me to my siblings. For a while I held off because it was such a shock and I felt like it was moving really quickly. 4 months after we had first started talking, we met and I was welcomed with open arms by everyone. And even though it was still a little weird and I was super nervous, I am glad I took the chance to meet him. He died from COVID complications just 8 months after we found out he was my real dad.
Story number 5.
Found out, doing the ancestry DNA, that my paternal grandmother cheated on her husband with her also married family doctor. My dad has brothers and a sister that he never knew about. Dad says that the doctor must have known. He looks exactly like his brothers, and the doc used to always call him son during his appointments. His dad, that raised him, also must have known, 'cause he treated him like crap and made backhanded comments that, knowing what we know now, tell us he knew. Or suspected at the very least.
Story number 6.
My father is from a country that is literally split in half. Half the country is ethnically Greek, and the other half is ethnically Turkish. There is a long history of bad blood, and our capital is split down the middle. We are culturally Greek, but thanks to my brother's impulse decision DNA test, we learned that we are ethnically more Turkish. Not really a horror story, but goes to show how stupid war is.
Story number 7.
Found out my dad isn't my biological father. My dad's sister gave me a DNA test for the holidays. I ended up taking it and discovered I wasn't related to my aunt, aka not related to my dad. But I have 10 plus half-siblings with whoever my sperm donor dad is. They gaslit me for months, saying the results were inaccurate, called me a liar to my sister, all this garbage. Then finally admitted it was true after 6 plus months of lying. We now have a terrible relationship.
Story number 8.
I've got 2. My friend knew that she was the result of a sperm donor. She signed up for 23andMe and ended up finding that she has a half-sister. Then another, and another, and another. I think she is up to over 2 dozen now, and almost all of them are half-sisters, and they all look so much alike. They have tracked down their biological father, and I guess he donated sperm in multiple states over the course of some years. He wasn't intentionally trying to have dozens of kids out there, but the rules of capping out didn't really catch him because of moving states. The other one is more direct. One of my family members got tested and found a cousin. But that cousin had a single mother, born out in California. We live in the Midwest, and nobody has any idea who their father is. Probably one of my uncles that passed away, or something along those lines. Based on my family history, everybody cheating on everybody, tons of babies in high school, kids not knowing that their fathers are not their real fathers, or kids being raised by their grandparents when their sister is really their mom. I refuse to sign up. I just don't want to know. It would just stir up crap. Ignorance is bliss.